Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Monday Motivation. It's great to be here with you today. So today I'd like to talk a little bit about understanding introversion, and I think for all of us INFJs and INFPs, this is a really important part of our journey. So because we're both predominantly introverted, and of course this then means that we experience our inner world as the real world, as opposed to the outside world, which a lot of extroverts consider to be the real world. So we want to be sure that we are, as introverts, we're staying true to ourselves and living our lives really purposefully and in a way that's authentic to who we are. So at our best, at its best, the introversion in and of itself is this inner world of rich tapestry of meaning and activities and connections. And as INF types, we have the capacity to make these amazing, well thought out connections, within ourselves and also in the outside world through observation. And because the power of our compassionate introspection, it kind of introversion spurs us on to finding and sharing a lot of meaning in life, which is really cool. And this rich inner world is brought out in predominantly by seeing the inner world as the real world. And most introverts establish themselves through this innermost kind of space of thoughts and feelings and observations. But in order for us to live a balanced life, we as introverts, we also need to be able to relate to the outside world in a way that is authentic to us and makes sense to us. And we need to learn to accept some outside world feedback to ensure that we don't fall into this painful delusionary space of what a lot of teachers call the introverted loop. So this kind of out of balance, this delusion, it's often described as like, everybody's against me, or nobody understands me, or I don't belong anywhere. If an introvert is unhealthy, we tend to simply stay in that inward facing reality, which then it feels really real. So it's not that it's not real, it feels extremely real, but it may not be the whole story, and it may not be actually completely true. It may not be accurate. So this state of painful loneliness is as I said, something that a lot of people call the introverted loop. So technically what happens is that the introvert uses only their inward facing information collection and decision making faculties, and is living in the subjective space of only referring inward for any guidance or any influence. So in other words, the person themselves treats how they perceive the outside world as kind of they go into this space where they just say, okay, the outside world is painful, I can't go there, it's not safe, and I need to just rely on myself to be able to get through this, whatever the challenge may be currently. So from personal experience, I can tell you that many of my relationships have broken down in the past as a result of me being in an introverted loop and having projected my subjective experience as the truth, and certainly onto other people's behavior, rather than checking in with the other person to see where they're actually coming from, if that makes sense. And in these cases, I've assigned some meaning that I'm convinced that is true, and I assign that meaning onto other people's actions. And that meaning often comes from this space of my deepest fears and most intense painful experiences of the past. So just kind of stay a little bit open to seeing if that might be happening for you too. So as introverts, we must take on the responsibility and to understand that our inward facing faculties are not the only true ones. So if we want to make good life decisions, we need to learn that there is an outside world, that it might have something to say that may not fit our own perception of ourselves. We need to learn how to engage with the outside world with our outward facing functions. And we need to learn how to collect information and make decisions also based on what's happening in the outside world. So I go into this a lot more in our INFX Unveiled program. So you can grab that if this piques your interest. But I want to mention that being an introvert also means that we need alone time to charge. We have to have that. We have to decompress the day. We have to let go of other people's energies, from our minds and our bodies. And we need to give space for our own thoughts and our own perceptions of reality. So whilst, having just said that the inward-facing world is not the only world, we also need to respect that the inward-facing world is in fact our solace, our place of rest, our haven in life. So the natural power of kind of the introspection that we are capable of doing as introverts, it really solidifies our kind of daily rituals to keep us functional within ourselves and in the outside world. And this can't be cultivated in kind of the hustle and bustle of everyday life. So we need that inner space for that to happen. So as introverts, we must learn to respect this about ourselves. We need to make sure that we have this, we fulfill these needs in ourselves, because often we can be facilitating this in others, but perhaps sometimes it's not reciprocated. So we have to take the responsibility of really giving this to ourselves. Even if sometimes, the outside world and the people in it, their needs might be screaming louder than ours, we still need to look after our own quiet time and introspection time, so that we're able to really stay in this life as the authentic version of ourselves. So cultivating that quiet time for introspection on a daily scale has to be a priority for us, and taking the time to just not interact with others, so not always be available, put your phone on silent if you're not expecting a call. Those kinds of things. You need to make sure that you're doing those things to reestablish yourself daily, because this is something that, especially if our outward life is really busy, as introverts, we lose our self-establishment, or it can waver, so we can actually start losing our self-establishment. So we may have to do that on a day-to-day basis. So one of my favorite exercises here is to make sure that the first kind of hour or 30 minutes or even 10 minutes of the day that I give space for my thoughts. There's a great exercise that I came across years and years and years ago from the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And this is the morning pages exercise. You might be aware of it already. So in this exercise, you write 3 pages in longhand, just information, just download anything, or, download everything that's in your head that you need to get out. And for me personally, this exercise has brought out a level of self-establishment, which then carries throughout the whole day, even if the day is filled with outward-facing activities, because I've had the chance to really establish my own truth and my own thoughts before I attempt to go out there in the outside world and do it. So, thank you for joining me today on this Monday Motivation. I hope this was helpful for you. I'd love to hear what you think about this video. And so pop your comments into the comment section below the video, and we will read them and we will respond to them, provided that they're appropriate. We don't work with trolls. All right, you have a really great week, and I'll talk to you real soon. Take care.